Okay. Start with questions for Adam. Chris, be the first one.
How good was Saturday just for the secondary to build confidence, see success? You know, Jones's interception, Robinson getting the big PBU on the sideline, great effort, just for them to kind of stack success on top of success on the field on Saturday.
It was good. We were excited that they did it. You know, that's a really good quarterback. I would say it's one of the top slots route runners that we'll go against as well. So, you know, it was good. Listen, a lot of work goes into playing well. And we've had a lot of examples of where we needed to fix some technique. We've rolled a lot of people, but it was good to get some consistency in the back end, back-to-back weeks from a standpoint of who's playing together, and to see that show up in the course of a game against a good passing attack was definitely positive and something we need to continue.
Stay over here for Brendan.
With that in mind, Adam, do you think that could build confidence for those guys in the secondary? Because I know you guys practice playing the ball and attacking it. For that to show up on a Saturday, is that something that you can legitimately build on now?
I think so. I mean, you can't fake confidence. I mean, you can try, but it's going to be empty when it really comes down to it. So to have tape, to be able to go back and show them that they can and that they did is extremely helpful. You know, and you know, you can ask any player when you're talking about confidence and swagger. What is that? It's about the belief that you've done the work necessary that you deserve to make the play. And you can't fake that with empty work or false positives. You know, you've got to go out and legitimately strain to put the work in, the preparation, the time, the effort, the technique. And so when your number's called, you almost feel like it's owed to you, you know? And then if you don't, you feel like you're in a no deniability place and you're able to get back and pick yourself up again. So, you know, this place, it's built with dirt and mud and hard work, and to see that come to fruition for them is good, but there's only one way to sustain it, and that's the same stuff, you know, over and over again. That's really hard, though. That's why it's hard to replicate, you know, because nobody wants to wake up in the morning and say, that's what I got to do again, but that's the best way to be successful consistently.
Stay on the left, third here.
So during the practice week, you're without a number of your starters on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, whether it be on the front end or the back end. And then on Saturday, you come out and give up points, you know, in the first quarter before settling in to a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a correlation between that you're, you know, that might be the first time all 11 guys have been together during the week?
I mean, this sounds, I'm supposed to be a professional. This sounds but it is what it is. You know, like practice on Tuesday, Josh will come up and tell us who's available, and we go to work with that group, and you try to make it as real of a rotation as if you're going to play on Tuesday, but you also have some sort of forward outlook that, okay, this guy will be available. So that goes into just where they get their reps. But that goes back to, in the secondary, of getting to a consistent group so they're playing together and they're playing with each other and for each other. And so that's been the aim, you know, since the day we walked in the door. We're still trying to get that ironed out, but you're seeing that take grips, you know, and you know, even if it's Kevin Noles, who's playing 60 snaps against a really, really good player. We just have him believing in his technique and his assignments and knowing that the guy to the left or in back of him is going to do his job. And when you put that thing together, you know, people talk a lot about run fits because you can see when it isn't fit, the ball hits, but pass fits are the same way. There's leverages, there's angles, there's communication, and then when it fits together, it looks pretty simple. And, you know, so, you know, yeah, we had a couple guys missing, but that's always going to happen in the sport. I mean, it's part of it. But we are playing better together.
Go to Kurt up front row to your right.
You talked about North Carolina's offense. Obviously, it's going to be hard to have consistent success against a guy like Sam Howell, against a guy like Josh Downs. What can you say about, I mean, it's kind of the intangible big plays and big moments, the fourth down breakup by Kevin, the interception by Jerry, and just the guys kind of rising to the occasion there?
Yeah, well, at Florida State, it shouldn't be hard. You know, I mean, you should want to compete against the best players and teams in the country all the time because they should want to compete against you. And you know, that's got to be the mindset, and it's got to be the reality around here. And we got to continue to push that standard in recruiting and development and practice, all of it. But, you know, it was good to go out and make some critical stops. You know, that interception by J-Dub was critical, you know, in a point. Ball's starting to creep towards that fringe area, and they get a one-on-one play. And those are things we tried to make sure schematically were happening during the course of the week in the game, that, you know, they're, you know, really explosive in the throw game. We don't want to allow space in the run game, but you got to lean somewhere. And, you know, we want to make sure that we're going to be over the top throws. And, you know, they got one on us, and then they got a wheel route late that should never happen. That we should never be put in that situation. But, you know, for J-Dub to go make that play, and then for the, you know, the fourth down was really a product of everybody doing their job. You know, Kevin ends up making a play, but, you know, with the way that play, with what they wanted to do on that play, that got taken away. And then, you know, for us to make the outlet play on it was a critical point in the game.
Stay over there for Gene.
Adam, I know it wasn't perfect on third down. Scott, you know, he slipped out a couple times, our quarterback, but really since halftime of that Louisville game, you guys have really flipped the script in terms of the situational. You mentioned the fourth down stop, the third down since then. It's just a confidence thing for these guys. They got a couple stops in those situations, so it's feeding upon itself. Or I mean, I'm trying to put a finger on why you guys have suddenly been really good situationally.
Our good players are playing well, you know, and putting those guys in those positions. You know, we were in a little more 3 down on third down this week just because of some personnel that we thought we needed to get on the field versus what we had available to get on the field. But coverage-wise, we're playing with a little bit more confidence, but we're practicing that way. And we've always put an emphasis on third down, and we'll continue. The numbers weren't great. You know, the quarterback had something to do with it. You know, he probably hurt us with his feet more than he hurt us with his arm. And going into the game, you don't want him to hurt you with anything. You know, but we knew which way we were leaning, and to try to take away some of the over-top throws and the big play capability for that quarterback. And we didn't execute perfectly, you know, on those scrambles or even the quarterback draws. We can be better, but, you know, give him some credit too. But none of the third downs are ever designed for them to get a first down, you know, and we've got to even do a better job last week just on some of the secondary plays off of the initial plays, scrambles, the cue draws on initial routes, and getting eyes back. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great day on third down for us. Obviously, fourth down, they're 0 for 1, which was a huge play. They all count the same numerically, but we know they don't, you know, when it comes down to it. There were some critical plays, and the fourth down was critical.
All right, next question is Ira.
It seemed like, you know, Coach Norvell, I think, mentioned the complementary football. How much has it helped the defense that, you know, that game wasn't a game with 14 possessions from each side? And, you know, what does that do for the defense?
You know, I think the goal is to win the game, you know, and on defense, we can get the ball back to the offense and not give up points. That helps us on our side of the ball. But, you know, that's why I love working with Coach Norvell. I mean, he gets it. You know, he believes in winning, and he believes in winning the right way through practice, through preparation, but also through in the course of the game. We've been together now long enough to know there are times that we're in control on defense, and we're going to play to that way. There are times that the offense is rolling, and we're going to play to that. There are times that, you know, the kicking game has a special spark, and we know there's a good place for that, whether that's a punt fake, whether that's for a different return on kickoff, return or punt pressure, you know, however that looks. You know, it gives me confidence to call defense that we can be aggressive in certain moments because I know how we're going to play on offense. So this is not a program where it's divided. You know, this is a very much a unified staff and program. And it really helps putting plans together when you know, number one, we're going to do what we say we're going to do on game day. And then also allowing the availability that games take different directions sometimes, but knowing that there doesn't have to be a long drawn-out conversation by me and Mike. You know, I think we've got a good sense of each other, and our players got a good sense of the coaches on the other side of the ball at this point. So, you know, it's just about execution.
All right, we'll come front row to the left for Chris.
How did Malcolm Ray perform with getting probably the heaviest workload of his career and kind of alleviating some of the pressure on Fabien Lovett?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Fabo, and I'm going to say this, you know, you talk about a team and you talk about playing with each other and for each other, and anybody that's played sports knows what the meaning of starting and all that stuff was. Fabien Lovett went up to Coach Hagens and says, I want Malcolm Ray to start. Okay, is that a big deal? I think so. You know, it shows unselfishness, it shows togetherness, It shows a brotherhood, and it's not about winning a job, losing a job. It just shows confidence in each other. It talks about just the respect level in that defensive room and in our team. And so Malcolm went out there. I mean, he played 20-plus snaps. It wasn't perfect, but that's back-to-back weeks that Jarrett Jackson got elevated to a role. Then Malcolm Ray got elevated to a role. And, I think Malcolm Ray ended up with 19 production points. So points per play, he made an impact Saturday night. So that's going to be important for us moving forward because, we're in a rotation up there. Fabien is playing really good football. I mean, he's backing up everything that I thought he would. And so, excited about the development of the young guys, Josh Farmer and Malcolm. We got to get more out of Jarrett Jackson hopefully this week. Robert Cooper played a lot of snaps Saturday night. So we got to continue to even that rotation out a little bit, but really proud of that group.
Stay here for Brendan.
To follow up on that, Adam, what was the significance of Fabien asking to come off the bench? What did that do for you guys? And then just how impactful was he on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, not to make more of, him not playing the first play and Malcolm playing. That's more of him just, having a sense of the room and saying this is important. He wants to see Malcolm have that opportunity, so then you move forward, and then the second play is the second play and you just go. But, I mean, Fabien, when he's been healthy this year and he's gotten on the field, he's made major impacts, not only in the run game, but, in the throw game. He's somebody that, he's definitely one of our best football players in our program right now, and he's acting like it on and off the field.
Back to the right, Ira.
When you guys, this is kind of I guess it's more normal now in college football with so many different transfers coming in, and it's a different way to build a football team. You guys have so many transfers that are playing big roles on defense, but also becoming team leaders. Why do you think that's come together as well as it has in terms of that aspect of it? What do you see that group going forward?
I think, Ira, that is a product of the recruiting process and making sure we know the people, not just the tape, right? And then it's hard. I think coaches make mistakes when you say, this is our leader, and you don't really know, right? You just say, well, I think he'll make plays. I think he practices hard, but you don't really know the 20 hours when they're not in the facility what it's about. And so I trust the real stuff, you know what I mean? How you see them interact with each other, how you see them interact when it's not going well for them. And, I think when you let that time kind of let the leadership rise to the top, and the players, they get a good sense of it more than any of us. Coaches, we think we know. The players really know. They know the guys that are true to be the team leaders, the guys that are about the action and about what they say. And I think that's kind of risen, and it's kind of transformed itself, through the work that we've put them through. And so now they just happen to, a lot of them, be guys that weren't initially here a year or 2 years ago, and I think that is a little bit of nature of college football. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's what it is right now. And, we're just trying to be as honest about what is good enough, what isn't the standard, and we're just pushing that out. And I think the guys are kind of taking to it and starting to develop some confidence in what we're saying.
And then on their last touchdown drive, I know you don't ever want to give up a touchdown, but the fact that it did take them, I guess, 5 minutes maybe or so to do that, how much of that was, guys tackling well, not giving up the big play? Like, what was the mindset, I guess, defensively in that drive? Well,
I think as the drive's going, there was enough time in the game as it started that, it was just kind of, you knew you were up 3 scores and you were playing. And so as you're calling defense, now as the clock started going, they weren't going with the rate that you thought they would go. I'll be honest with you, for us, I pulled back a little bit from an aggressive standpoint because it was, you didn't want to make a mistake. You wanted to let them make the mistakes.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.